Today we're talking about simplifying polynomials. So we're going to look at some terms before we get started. A monomial is a number, a variable, or a product of numbers and or variables. A polynomial is an algebraic expression that is the sum or difference of one or more monomials. Each monomial in a polynomial is called a term. Polynomials are classified by the number of their terms when they are in simplified form. So here is an example of a monomial. It has one term, and it could be something like negative 2x or 4. This is a monomial. A binomial has two terms, and it could look like 3x minus 2 or negative s to the fourth power plus 6s cubed. A trinomial has three terms, and it could look like negative 2a squared plus 3a plus 1 or 3 plus 5r minus 7r squared. A polynomial is written in standard form if the exponents of the variable decrease from left to right. So here are a couple examples of standard form and non-standard form. If you look at the standard form here, we have a power of 3, 2, and then nothing, and then 6, 3, and 1. So they go in they decrease from left to right, the exponents. Here is not standard form. We have 3 plus 5y, and then here we have 4, 7, 2, and 1. So this is not in standard form. We like to keep it in standard form so that when we check our work, it's easier to grade or to look at and make sure that we have it correct. Okay, we are going to simplify a polynomial. To simplify a polynomial, we're going to combine like terms. Then write the terms so the exponents are decreasing from left to right. So let's look at the first one. One thing that may make it easier when you are combining like terms is to go ahead and make all subtraction the additive inverse. So here we have plus, and that was a minus, but I did the additive inverse, and that just helps me remember that those minus signs are really negatives. So I'm going to box in all my like terms that are like d, negative 5d. So here I have 4d and negative 5d, and those two are like terms, so I'm going to combine them. So a negative 5 plus 4 is a negative 1d. But we don't put the negative 1, we're just going to put negative d. So negative 5 plus 4 is a negative 1, so that's going to be a negative 1d. Then I have a positive 2n plus a negative 3n. So a positive 2 plus a negative 3 is going to give me a negative 1. So I have a negative 1n. And that is all I have to do. Okay, let's look at number 2. I'm going to box in. Actually, I'm going to change all of these to the additive inverse just to help me remember that those are negatives. And I'm going to box in all of my f's. So 4 plus a negative 1. 4 plus a negative 1 is a positive 3f. And a negative 3 plus a negative 9 is a negative 12g. So we did 4 plus a negative 1, that's a positive 3, and negative 3 plus negative 9 is a negative 12. Now some of you will write it like this. And while that is the same thing, we want to make sure that we simplify even our addition of a negative into a subtraction sign. That it will be in simplest form. Okay, Let's look at this next one, number 3. 6n plus k minus 8. So I don't see any other n's, I don't see any other k's, and I don't see any other constants. So this is already in simplest form. Okay, if you'd like to pause and try number 4 on your own, and then come back and make sure you got that right. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to pause and work this one out on your own. So a negative 7x, I don't have any other x's, so I'm going to leave that as it is. Then I have a positive 5y and a negative y. So 5 plus a negative 1 is a positive 4y. And then this does not have any other like terms, so I'm just going to keep that as a plus 2. Number 5, 2x squared plus 4 minus x squared. So I'm going to change to the additive inverse. 2 plus a negative 1. So here we have our like terms here. 2 plus a negative 1 is a positive 1 x squared. We don't put the 1, we keep it just x squared. And then I don't have any like terms here, so I'm just going to bring down the plus 4. Okay, number 6, negative 3c squared plus 7 minus c squared plus 9. So I'm going to change my minus c squared to the additive inverse. Going to combine the negative 3c squared plus the negative c. So a negative 3 plus a negative 1 is a negative 4c squared. And then positive 7 plus a positive 9 is 16. Now I would like for you to try number 7 and 8 on your own, and then we can check that in class later on. Okay, let's look at number 9. Here we have quite a few terms. So let's go ahead and see. Here we have an m cubed, 9m cubed, but there are no other m cubed. So we're going to start that out with a 9m cubed, and we're done with that one. I'm going to mark these off as I go. Okay, I'm going to change this to the additive inverse. So I have negative 3m squared plus a positive 8m squared. So a negative 3 plus a positive 8 is a positive 5m squared. I'm going to mark those out because we have a lot of terms here. And 5m is a like term with a negative 7m. So 5 plus a negative 7 is a negative 2m. And then we don't have any like terms with 15, so we're going to add 15. Notice that I did my simplifying in order of the exponents. I did my 3, 2, 1. That way I could put it in standard form. Now the last one that we're going to do is number 10, and we're going to use the distributive property. We learned this earlier in the year, but just as a refresher, remember that we multiply whatever's outside the parentheses by everything inside the parentheses. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and change this to the additive inverse. We're going to add the negative just to keep me organized with my multiplying. So 6 times w cubed is 6w cubed. And 6 times a negative 3w squared is a negative 18w squared. So 6 times a negative 3 is a negative 18, so I went ahead and just put a negative as my subtraction sign. 6 times 9w squared is a positive 54w squared. And 6 times a negative 4w cubed is a negative 24w cubed. And now that we've done the distributive property, I need to go and combine like terms. So I'm going to do the additive inverse to keep myself organized. And I'm going to start with my higher exponent, which is the w cubed. And 6 plus a negative 24 is a negative 18w cubed. And then a negative 18w squared plus 54w squared. So a negative 18 plus 54 is a positive 36w squared. And that is a 2. Remember to write down any questions that you might have, and we can go over them in class.